What up, y'all? Week 5 of the college football season is currently wrapping up. Uh, Washington's still playing Arizona. Pac-12 after dark, round 2. Still can't handle it. still wrecking my sleep schedule. But crazy day today. Some wild finishes. Can't wait to get to it. But pretty much all of the highly ranked teams still took care of business today. The top 10 is going to look mostly the same as it did coming into the week. On Friday night, Utah lost to Oregon State. They're probably going to be the only top 10 team that falls out. Big time win for Oregon State coming off the Washington State loss last week, which then leads us to ask, okay, so just how good is Washington State, right? Utah's still waiting to get their quarterback back, Cam Rising, and that's going to really change things for them. So don't count them out as a playoff contender either. But things staying very heated in the Pac-12. In the SEC, LSU and Ole Miss decided that they didn't want to play defense today. 55-49 is the final. Ole Miss upsets LSU. That's a second loss for LSU and Jaden Daniels. This was supposed to be a year where they were contending to win the SEC. They get wiped by Florida State in week 1. And then they lose this shootout to Ole Miss today. So they're in a tough spot now. Only one loss in conference. They still are contending, but their playoff hopes pretty much gone with the loss to Ole Miss today. Crazy ending to the game. I was a little surprised. There wasn't more talk about a pass interference call at the end of the game. Felt like the receiver for LSU got hit before the ball got there. Regardless, that wasn't brought up. Maybe it was too close a call. But Ole Miss pulls out a dub. Jackson Dart plays easily his best game of his career at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin was looking very happy on the sidelines. The guy never ceases to not look like a 22-year-old frat bro on the sidelines. He's probably one of the best, if not the best in the country at looking like that. But big time win for Ole Miss, who still they only have one loss on the season. So this puts them back into the conversation. A couple other SEC games that were worth noting today. Kentucky just nearly blowing out Florida. Just get on the business. Ray Brown with 280 yards and 4 touchdowns for Kentucky. As dominant a rushing performance as you're going to see from a running back this season. Was so good my dad called me up and told me about it. Completely took the game over for Kentucky, who's now undefeated, has beaten Florida, certain to be ranked next week. Florida's certain to fall out. They've now lost to Utah and to Kentucky. And the hot seat's getting a little hotter for Billy Napier over in Florida. This is going to be he can't survive a 6-6 season. So it's going to be interesting if that's the trajectory that their season is headed in, or if they're still a 9 or 10 win team and Kentucky really is that good. Georgia had to really battle with Auburn today. Big time drive led by Carson Beck at the end of the game to get the dub. Brock Bowers making some big time catches. I don't know why he wasn't double covered better. Great job by Georgia of putting him in positions, whether he was lined up on the line of scrimmage or at the end of the formation or in the slot, of finding ways to get him over the middle of the field and free. The coverage was not what it needed to be from the other team at the end of the game. Did not opt from Auburn. Did not get done what they needed to get done. Particularly, I just don't understand how you don't find a way to bracket him low high. You allow him to run after the catch like that when you know he's their weapon. And Beck found him time and again, 8 catches, and that gets them the dub. Auburn was running one of the most hysterical offenses I've seen in a long time. Not really even interested in throwing the ball. They're leading their quarterback through for 82 yards. They were rotating 2 different quarterbacks, almost like you'd rotate running backs as they continue to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. But they ran for over 200 yards on a Georgia defense. That does not happen. So Georgia has got to take a look in the mirror. We're going to be saying this all season. I don't think that Georgia is the best team in the country, but they're a 2-time defending national champ who hasn't really faced a tough opponent yet. They've been tested by teams that aren't actually that good, but they're still an undefeated 2-time defending national champ, so I wouldn't expect to see them move down from the 1 spot, despite the fact that they haven't earned the number 1 ranking if you go just based on this season. Looking at Notre Dame and Duke, played a thriller. Felt bad for Duke. This was going to be a massive win for them, and then they let Notre Dame go down the field on the final drive of the game. A 4th and 16, Sam Hartman runs for a first down, and then they give up a 30-yard touchdown run. Notre Dame takes the lead, and Duke on the trying to drive and win the game back. Their quarterback Riley Leonard gets hurt. His ankle gets rolled up on pretty bad. We don't know how bad yet, but you don't feel good for him. Really tough situation, and a massive win for Notre Dame after losing the heartbreaker to Ohio State last week because they had 10 players on the field for the final play of the game. They come back, they get the clutch win. Sam Hartman writing his legacy at Notre Dame. Big-time win for Marcus Freeman's team. They're still only at 1 loss. They're still a contender. They got to play some good teams the rest of the way still. They got to play USC at some point. So they still have games. I'm not telling you circle them in or anything, but they're still in the hunt, and this was a massive win for them as well. Out in the Pac-12, USC and Colorado played today. Big-time comeback from Colorado. We know USC doesn't have a particularly good defense, but what was interesting is USC just run out to a massive lead and then obviously pull back the intensity. Colorado took advantage of that. This game ended up being 48-41. USC got the W. But it was, I believe it was 35-6, 42-6 at halftime, something like that. Caleb Williams is playing fantastic, and I'll call it right here. Him or Michael Penix is going to win the Heisman Trophy. It's going to be a two-way race. There's other guys, and people are going to get mad at me if it's Bo Nix, if it's Cam Ward, if it's Brock Bowers over at Georgia, if it's Florida State's quarterback. Like, there's a lot of other guys. But I'm telling you, the numbers that these two guys are putting up and are going to continue to put up are just going to be impossible to ignore. And when they play in November, the points that are going to be on the board, it's going to be insane. Already looking forward to that game. So, big-time win there for USC. We said those were the two games, Oregon and USC. Those are the games that were going to actually tell us what kind of team we have in Colorado. I think we basically have the team that I said that they were after the win over TCU in Week 1. They're a 7-win ball club. They're going to make a bowl game because they're better than the Bay Area teams and the Arizona teams in the Pac-12, and they probably won't beat anybody else. And they're going to make a bowl game, which is a fantastic first season, considering where they came from and what Deion's done with the roster. And that doesn't mean that they can't be a playoff, a Pac-12 championship, or I guess it would be a Big 12 championship contender in the next couple of seasons. But that's not what this team is this year. That's pretty much everything I've got. Appreciate everything. Continue to like and subscribe. Watch it on the YouTube channel too. Appreciate all the support from everybody. God bless.